Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a delicate necklace. And in this video I'm going to be featuring these really sweet little metal beads, and these are little paws from TierraCast. So you can just see that I have little gold and silver ones here, and I'm going to actually be using both colors. I'm going to do a little mixed metal, but if you want, feel free to choose either or. My base metal though is going to be a gold, so you can see that I have some chain here, I have some eye pins, I have my little clasp that I'm going to use, and I have some jump rings. Now the only tools you're going to need are very basic tools. I have a couple pairs of chain nose pliers, I have a pair of round nose pliers, and I have a pair of flush cutters. And I also have my ruler handy because I think we're going to be using that as well to help size. So let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that I want to do is I want to take one of my little beads, and these are top drilled, meaning if you go from the top to the bottom there, you can just see that it goes straight down. So what we're going to do is we are going to put all 8 of our little beads onto eye pins here, and we're going to do just little simple wire loops. Now you can see that this is kind of rotating freely there, and we want to keep that. So don't get it too close and too tight to that loop. We want to make sure that we are able to let that kind of just move on its own. So in order to do that, so like I said, you just kind of string it on there, and then we're going to come in with our round nose pliers here. And I like to do my loops where they sort of create a little bit of figure 8. So you can see, let me just bring it up to the camera here, that my loop is coming around this way. So I want to make sure my other loop goes around the opposite way. So what I want to do is just kind of rotate that. There we go. And now I'm just going to take my pliers and go ahead and just kick that wire back towards yourself so you have a little bit of an angle there. And then you can just wrap it up and over the top, creating a nice little loop. Rotate your pliers and bring that loop right across to complete that loop. And again, we just want to make sure that we can still spin our little bead there. Remove your pliers and come in with your flush cutters. And there is our first little component. All right, so I'm going to continue to do that for all 8, and then I will be right back and we'll do the next step. So now that we have our little components created and set aside, we can start working with our chain. Now what I want to create here is I want to create little spaces through this chain, and now you can just see how delicate this chain is, and that's exactly what I want. But if you look really closely, you can see that those little links have a nice little sparkle to them, so I think this is going to be really beautiful. So go ahead and move to one end of the chain here, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to sort of eyeball what 1 inch is going to look like here. And the reason I bring in my ruler for this first one is because I really want to try to get even lengths, but you're going to see my little trick here in just a minute. Okay, so I have my piece here, and I'm just going to measure out about 1 inch. And again, these are so fine, but I think I see exactly where I want exactly where I want to cut. So I'm just going to come in with my pliers here and pick up that loop and give it a little snip. All right, so now I have my length that I want to follow, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have to lay this on my table here, is I want to actually count out how many links that was, because now I want to match to it. So instead of just trying to go inch by inch by inch, what you can do is, especially when it's really fine and delicate, you want to make sure that you're getting it exactly right. So let's come in here and let's count how many links I was able to cut off there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is, because we are going to be putting one of these little links in between each inch of chain here, I need to then do 8 of my little links here. Actually, I need to do 7. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. So I'm going to do 7. So we are going to start and end on one of the pieces because I'm going to alternate them. So go ahead and do that 17 links here and cut those off so we have 7 pieces ready to go. So now you can see that I've set up my necklace here, and I have all of my paws facing the same direction. You can flip them around if you want. You can alternate them. It is entirely up to you. You can do silver on one side, gold on the other. You can flip the paws so that they're facing outwards. Up to you. I will leave that to you. Okay, so the reason why I have not cut my other pieces of chain yet is because I want to link all of this together and see what that size is. Because these are little units and it's going to be a lot longer, obviously, than those 7 inches. The other thing too, and I brought out some extra jump rings here. You do have the opportunity to do this with jump rings if you did not want to connect your eye pins directly to the chain. So again, that's another choice you can make, but I'm going to go ahead and bring mine right up to the chain here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start with this little gold one over here. And keeping in mind that I want to keep my loops facing downwards here. So I'm going to start at the top of the paw. And all I'm going to do is just hold on to that bead and just, let me get it close to the camera, there you go, and just bend backwards just enough so that I can slip this little piece of chain in there. Now, this chain is very fine, and in order to get this to work, we need to make sure now that we're holding our bead nice and taut, and let's get that loop closed up really nice and tight. We don't want that chain to slip out, so we want to make sure that we don't have any kind of slippage there. So you can kind of just work your way around and just make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. All right, so we have that. And now we're just going to repeat that process and attach our little paws as we continue to work around here. So just one more time, just open up just enough so we can slip that chain on, keeping in mind the direction that your little beads are facing. And I opened it up just barely so I could get that on. There we go, perfect. Checking the position of my paws. And then I can come in here and close that up. Make sure it's nice and closed. All right, so you can see it's starting to take shape. I'm going to continue to connect them in the same manner, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish the back of the necklace. Okay, so we have our necklace here ready for you, and I love it. I think it's actually really sweet. I also love the fact that you can do the mixed metals. Now, if you wanted to do a version of this that is just a bracelet, you could do that as well. I would recommend maybe you could tighten up this 1 inch. You could do like 3/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, but you could make a lovely little set there. Or you could also utilize this and use a head pin and make a pair of earrings if you wanted to as well. So if you imagine you had a head pin there and you can let that kind of swing. So you can make a whole set out of these TierraCast pet paw metal beads. Whew, that's a mouthful. All right, so, the first thing I want to do is I want to show you. So remember we cut 7 inches of chain here. So what I'm going to do is just show you along the ruler how long this really is now that we have this all together. All right, so let me just line this up here. And it looks like we are just about at 11 inches. So all of those beads with their little loops, that added about 4 inches there. So just keep that in mind as you are creating this. So again, I want to create an 18-inch necklace for myself. So I have 11 inches here, which means I have about 7 inches that I need to accomplish here in the back. Now our little loop here, our little clasp is just under 1/2 inch, but once we add those jump rings, it'll be about 1/2 inch. So keep that in mind as well. So now I have about 6.5 inches to work with. So what I need to do is I'm going to cut off 3.25 inches from my chain here. All right, now I'm just going to set that aside and set these guys off to the side there too. Okay, so now I have 3.25 inches. So I'm just going to kind of drag it along my ruler there. And using my same sort of eyeball method, 3.25 is going to be right about here. Just come in and cut that off. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can just sort of lay that down and lay this next to it. You can count your links. You can also take a little scrap of one of your eye pins here and you can pick up that last little link there. Make sure you have the last link. And now that you have them nice and even, you can draw them down together and figure out exactly where that is so that you are nice and even. And then just kind of come in and cut off that next one there. So there's lots of different methods to kind of getting the same chain length. Like I said, you can sit there and you can count them out if you really want to be meticulous, and I fully support that. All right, so now we have our 2 pieces here. So again, you're going to get to see that same method. I'm just going to come to one side here, and I want to open up that loop just ever so slightly. Slip this piece of chain on. There we go. Close up that loop. Again, making sure it's nice and tight. I like to kind of give mine a little extra pinch sometimes. Come to this side and we're just going to repeat that. There we go. And slipping that last little link on. You can also use this with a heavier chain if you'd like. It doesn't have to be as delicate as this. I kind of like the delicate look, but go with whatever feels groovy to you. Okay, so now just kind of bring this down there. What I want to do is I'm going to use a couple of these little jump rings here. And the reason you want to use a jump ring on the other side is because we are going to be attaching that clasp. And we need it to have something to attach to. All right, so I'm coming in with my bent nose and my chain nose, giving a nice open loop there, catching that last loop in the chain, coming to this side, grabbing my lobster clasp. Now you can also use a magnetic clasp if you want. The reason I don't like to use a lot of magnetic clasps when I'm doing necklaces is because sometimes, necklaces get pulled, but also this necklace is very delicate. So I would hate to have you pull it and then actually stretch out one of those links and weaken the chain. So that is why I am using a lobster clasp here today. All right, and now we're just going to close this guy up. And we are all finished. So now you can see we can just put our necklace together there. And we have a beautiful little delicate necklace to celebrate the furry friends in your life. Thank you so much for joining me. You can get all of these supplies and see even more tutorials by heading over to Beadaholique.com. And if you're new to our YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button below to get all the latest from Beadaholique.